and the chairs, those that are in the, so the chair, Mr. Rana Isang Afsal, the special assistant advisor to the Prime Minister, coordinator for Commerce and Industries, Pakistan, Ms. Cecile Fruman, the Director on Regional Integration and Engagement of South Asia of the World Bank. And then presenters, we have Dr. Posh Raj Pandey from Soti in Nepal, Dr. Arvind Kumar, President of the India Water Foundation, and Professor, oh, this is online, Salim Raihan, the South Asia Network on Economic Modeling. I hope you're online. So I am going to also, well, let me see. Okay, so as we hope some more people might join in, I'm just going to introduce the session. So we've had, 3 days of both the SDG Forum for South and Southwest Asia. Hello, please, you're welcome on the stage. And also the many sessions of the SDPI, special conference on sustainable development. And what we'd like to do is to hone in on the role of research institutions, think tanks, and reflect a bit on what we've heard together in terms of the real challenges that the countries of South and Southwest Asia are facing. And what that implication for SDG implementation or achievement is. And we knew that, of course, 2015, when this SDG was signed off, it was not going to be easy. But little did we know that not only did we have one C, which was climate change, we had another C, COVID, and a third C, conflict that really created havoc. So we've heard a lot from the countries, the member states, the stakeholders, partners, institutions who are tackling this in their different localities and countries. So yeah, we're going to tap into the brains of the different experts from different think tanks, and also the international organizations working on development issues as well, to really kind of extract out what are the key things that have come out, what are the really challenging issues facing this Southwest Asia region, and that implication on SDGs. And then what is the role of think tanks? And ESCAP has had the privilege of partnering with some institutions in South Asia, which are now expanding into Southwest Asia. And we call this SANS, the South Asia Network for SDGs. And they have done a lot of research in advance, actually, for this SDG forum, so that we can, really pull out the best of analysis to contribute to this SDG forum. But, on top of that, what you've heard over the past days too, if you could also reflect on that. And, we will have an open discussion as well to get questions or contributions. So to start off, I'm going to ask Ms. Cecile Fruman from the World Bank to start with some opening remarks, some reflections. You can.
Thank you, Mikiko. Thank you, everyone. I know we're coming to the end of a very full agenda, so I'll be quite brief because we also have many people on this panel sharing their thoughts. So maybe just a few reflections coming out of a very rich few days, and congratulations to the organizers. They've really pulled off quite a remarkable event. But I think what I've heard very clearly is that the challenges are great, be it on the SDGs, be it on the 3 Cs, or the 3 Fs also that we've been hearing about. So the challenges are great and the needs are great. And I think what networks of think tanks, of economists can bring are a number of things. The first is there's really a need for robust data, understanding what the issues are and having data and information that can be shared across countries. Connected to that is strong evidence. I think when resources are scarce, there's certainly a need to prioritize. When there's so many issues to tackle at once, understanding having the analytical underpinning to inform where to invest and what to prioritize. So that's also an area where I think think tanks and networks of think tanks can play a really important role. The third then is translating the data and the evidence into an action plan and a way forward, and having a sense of prioritization, a sense also of what will it take within the authorizing environment, within the political economy, what is possible. And then not being prescriptive with policymakers, but certainly having, helping to chart a course forward. And then obviously advocacy, right? One thing is to have correct analysis, another is to be able to describe a way forward, but often there's a need to engage, to convince, to bring together key stakeholders, CSOs and others. And that's also, I think, an area where these networks can play an important role. So I'm not very familiar with the SANS, the South Asia network on the SDGs, but I'm more familiar with the network that the World Bank supports, which is the South Asia Economic Policy Network. And interestingly, many of the think tanks that are part of that network are also part of the SANS. And so I think it is really, you know, working with these credible think tanks, with economists, with academics who have the deep knowledge and thinking, and then also have that convening and connecting power. Another important part, I think, of all of this is working with youth. We also work with the South Asia Economic Students Meets. We facilitate regular meetings. We facilitate capacity building. We invest in youth because we think that they are the leaders of the future, and that engaging with them early, enabling their thinking, not only enriches our own, but also helps them chart their path for the future. So with that, really for me, the takeaway is that the challenges are considerable, the financing is finite, and therefore the need for networks to come together to facilitate data gathering, solid evidence, advocacy, and basically helping to chart a way forward is really on the critical path for all of us. So I'll leave my remarks at that and look forward to hearing from my fellow panelists. Thank you.
I do this, is it okay? Okay, yeah, no, thank you very much, Cecile. Very, very clear and succinct, extraction of some good insights, tips of what the roles of networks of these think tanks, researchers can be in this context. So we're going to now turn to, I hope there are 3 colleagues, one online, part of the SANS network, who have been doing some work before the SDG forum on, the SDGs that were under review, and the Southwest Asia sub-regional perspective. So I'm going to ask them to share what they think are really the most challenging issues in the sub-region, what the implications to SDGs are, and what the network of and here I was talking about SANS, but I take your point, Cecile. There are many, many networks, and I think the more the convergence of the ideas around what that meaningful contribution of the research institutions as a group is, I think the better it is. So, not just SANS, but beyond, but starting from our SANS partners. So may I ask Dr. Posh Raj Pandey from Nepal, South Soti, to kick it off. We need PowerPoint control. Oops, there's a line there. Ah! There's a cord there. It's too late. Is there a remote for PowerPoint? Oh, so I think you just say next.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Then I leave my laptop. If I can contact from here, that's fine. I'll sit here.
Do you want to sit here so that you see your presentation behind? Would you like to sit here so you can see your presentation that is behind you?
It's okay, it's done if you wait.
Oh, all right.
That's why I'm here.
Sorry.
Okay. As a background, let me inform you. We had a meeting on 9th November 2022 among SANS members, and we decided that there are four critical issues that has to be addressed in this meeting. And those issues are macroeconomic issues, social sector, digital connectivity, building regional value chain, and environmental or climate change issue. And the group asked us to make presentation in this meeting. And I'm one of the, myself, Dr. Arbain, and Salim Rehman. We three people are supposed to make presentations. I will take 20 minutes, but here I have prepared this PowerPoint, maybe 40 plus. So it won't be possible, to explain those PowerPoints in 20 minutes. So I'll just read out of my PowerPoint in 20 minutes, try to complete in 20 minutes. Okay, as a background, and I'll talk about macroeconomic issues, social sector, digital connectivity, building regional value chain, and also environmental issues, climate change issues. Well, so, as a background, there are few disruptors in global economy as well as in our national economy, and these are COVID-19 pandemic, which is more than 2 years of COVID crisis, 19 crisis, and second is trade tension that is basically spurred by protectionism in developed and other countries, other developing countries, and another, trade tension is due to push for self-sufficiency. And the third one, and that's the major, that's the US trade war with China. And the third disruptor is Ukraine war, that's the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. These are major and a disruptor in our global economy. And these disruptors have affected our achievement in SDG. Well, COVID-19 has directly and indirectly affected goals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, 13, 16, 17. Many SDGs, and Ukraine war and this trade tension. It has further aggravated all these goals plus goal 9. So I'm not going to explain detail in this chart. And because of this this negative impact, there has been either decelerations, stagnation, or regression in the SDG progress among South Asian, among South and West Asian countries. Well, in most of the countries, I would say it's stagnant. That's based on SDG overall index that's prepared by Professor Sachs and his team. And because of this deceleration or stagnations, UNESCAP report and latest reports on the SDG progress, and it says that the timeline to achieve SDG has been pushed by 13 years, and previous 19. If you take the growth rate till 2019, from that point, I mean, it has extended to 13 years. Okay, I mean, this is the state of SDG in South and Southwest Asia, and the impact of, I mean, these three disruptors. And so let me come to the issues, I mean, we identified in our previous meeting. That's the risk of threat to macroeconomic stability. And here, the industrial production recovery is quite slow. I mean, there was down in April to 2020, but it has picked up. But that recovery is quite slow. And major export except Sri Lanka have bounced back in almost all countries. But global, because of global slowdown, the growth is limited. And again, I mean, growth in remittance, I mean, it didn't decline much during COVID pandemic, but the growth is quite weak, I mean, for most of the countries. And the tourist arrival has improved, and it is still below pre-COVID level, except for Maldives. And because of higher prices of imports, because of high commodity prices, and I mean, high demand during recovery phase, stagnant or low growth of import, and weak remittance because of slow recovery in tourism, that current account and deficit is widening over the period. I mean, particularly in this period. And because of current account deficit, this foreign exchange reserve has been depleted. I mean, in fact, I mean, in Bhutan, it used to be, I mean, the foreign exchange reserve used to be covered 18 months import. Now it has reduced to less than 8 months import. So foreign exchange reserve has been depleting. And again, another macro parameter, I mean, budget deficit, I mean, due to one factor due to stimulus package, and another factor, declining revenue during this pandemic. It has resulted in widening, I mean, budgetary deficit. And much more important factor, I mean, that affects, I mean, every individual is rising inflations. Rising inflation, one, because of expansionary policies, I mean, we adopted, I mean, during COVID. Second, rising commodity prices. And third factor contributing to, I mean, high inflation is depreciation of local currency against US dollar. That is also, I mean, contributed to high rate of inflation. And because all these factors, the growth rate has been slowed down. And after picking up into 2021, I mean, 2022, particularly because of this Ukraine war, and also, I mean, trade tension between US and China, and that growth rate has been slowed down. Okay, I mean, these are the issues of risk of macro instability, I mean, in our economy. And another factor, and particularly because of this COVID, it has increased, I mean, tension at the household level as well as at the society. I mean, if you look at them as job recovery, I mean, people who have some educations, the job recovery rate is quite high compared to people who are uneducated. And similarly, female lag behind this job recovery rate compared to male. I mean, this is all in almost all countries. But I mean, on the one hand, and people are losing jobs, but government expenditure in social sector, including education, health, and social protections, I mean, it could not picked up. And for most of the countries, I mean, that's not in share, that's the share in GDP is less than 50%. and because of pressure, I mean, in the budget, government could not provide any social security to everyone, I mean, who have been affected by COVID. And that social security, and the population covered by at least owns social security, I mean, benefit. That is quite high in Turkey, except Turkey. I mean, it's quite low. Okay, it's not working. Well, I mean, because of, I mean, loss of employment, and also, I mean, lack of social security, I mean, food security situations, it has, I mean, worsening in the region. And that, I mean, food security situation has also fueled by the price, high level price rise, as well as, I mean, shortage of food grains. Well, I mean, because of this, I mean, no job, I mean, no food, it has increased, I mean, domestic violence, and in many households. I didn't get, I mean, detailed information for each of the countries, but in our case, in Nepal, I mean, that has increased domestic violence because of this COVID. So we have, I mean, that kind of tension in society as well as in the household. So another factor is disrupted supply chain. Okay, because of these three factors, and the risk of supply chain disruption have been increasing. And the contributing factors, and I think I mean, there are three factors. The first one is geopolitical risks, that is geopolitical, populist, and techno-nationalist policy. That's war, and also conflict. And the second factor is environmental risk, that is related to geophysical, for example, earthquake, volcanic eruption, meteorological, extreme temperature, storm, hydrological, flood, landslides, and climatological, that's from the drought. I mean, it has contributed for higher risk of supply chain disruption. And another is, I mean, as you know, that's the pandemic risk. I mean, we all experienced COVID-19. Well, so, I mean, I could not get data for each of the countries on this supply chain and nation supply chain. But based on the Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, which is an indicator of manufacturing supply chain delays, in India, it has not increased. And it's not only India, it's not only in India, but at the global level also, I mean, it has not increased. I mean, 50%, that's improving, but for most of the group, that's all EU and Asia, it's less than 50%. And India has, I mean, just raised 50%. And another challenge is that's the issues of existential threat that's related to climate change. I mean, a large number of people have been affected and died due to disasters. I mean, here I have taken numbers, I mean, people affected by disasters, as well as death and missing persons to disasters, and that's the highest number in the last 5 years. So I mean, that people affected, I mean, it's quite high, and still, I mean, death, it is also quite high. I mean, maybe not this year. Maybe if you look at a 5 years period, you will find quite a large number of death and quite a large number of people affected by disaster. But except India, we have not been fully adapted our strategy of disaster reduction in line with international level, particularly that is Sendai framework. I mean, I presented the index. India has got one, I mean, that's the full score. For rest of the countries, it's less than 1. So we felt to adopt proper DRR strategy as guided by Sendai framework. But I mean, all these are negative parts of our this COVID and other disruptions. But the good part is there is significant uptake in use of technology, and particularly digital technology during this period. Well, there is remarkable growth in 4G coverage over the last 5 years, except Afghanistan and Nepal. I've got this information from your publications, World Bank publication, and the country are adopting that and bandwidth. There is a steep rise, and particularly in India, it's when growth is quite high. This adoption of international bandwidth. And again, I mean, coming to the price and affordability to digital connection, it has improved. And the cost of mobile data is quite low. I mean, it has almost reached this cost in terms of per capita income. Per capita income, international this benchmark is 2% of per capita income, and except for Afghanistan, I think most of the countries, South Asian countries, has achieved that level. So the affordability has increased. Affordability and digital technology has increased. But there is a digital gap among and within the countries. And these gap are related to basically, access gap, that's technological availability, economic affordability, connection quality, and accessibility. And another is literacy gap. Okay, you have those mobile, but you can't use them properly because of either you don't have that technical formal education on that, or you don't have that formal training or this education. You don't get those knowledge in your educational institutions. And another is usage gap. This technology have a lot of uses, right? But there are very few uses. What we do is that social, this what you call it, Facebook and all this in Twitter. For Facebook and Twitter, but we have not used for this consumption or education, particularly for business. We have not used that for that. And in order to address, let's join hand to address those three devils and also exploit opportunity, particularly in digital economy. First, cooperation, macroeconomic stability. Because of diverse size of the countries and the stage of development, affect countries' policy priorities and policy trade-off. So we can't have harmonized macroeconomic policy, right? But we can cooperate and say maybe for payment union we can use our domestic currency, domestic currency for our trade. And again, is looking at the crisis of Sri Lanka, we can reserve our foreign, we can pool our foreign exchange reserve. And another is to finance infrastructure and other issues, particularly why not to cooperate in capital market? Why not Nepali companies generate capital in say Pakistan, in India? Why not? Let's it's Asian countries are doing this thing. Why not us? And another is greater cooperation, so particularly multinational financial institutions regarding funding, financing of infrastructure. And on digital connectivity, okay, we need to have cooperation among academic institutions and sharing of experience, then particularly on e-governance and use of digital technology in providing public services. Again, another, we can cooperate on data flows, cross-border data flows, but here again, I mean, we need to establish some common framework and standards, and we can cooperate on cybersecurity, and we can cooperate in promotion of an e-commerce and cross-border payments. And another, I mean, much more important is building. I mean, this digital infrastructure, particularly, I mean, landlocked countries. We are forced to pay, I mean, this high price for a class of connectivity. So maybe the other countries can support in accessing those technology. And another is creating supply chain. For creating supply chain, I mean, it's quite a complex business, but we can I mean, have collaborative innovations. We can share information and knowledge, and we can accelerate this international trading arrangement, and we can have conclude with investment promotion agreement among us, and we can coordinate on the industrial policy, particularly, I mean, government support and industrial sector. Again, I mean, we need to improve connectivity, but at least, I mean, air connectivity, and we also need to facilitate the customs and regarding logistic procedure. And on the climate change, we can cooperate, I mean, on this clean development mechanism. We can jointly mobilize resources for implementation of low carbon projects and renewable energy. We can do joint research and I mean, share information and knowledge. And that's the success story. That's the way we can have common positions for international climate negotiations. Particularly, I mean, that's a very success story on compensations for damage and all these things. Just, I mean, concluded. Hope. Okay. Thank you. I stop over here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was an excellent, not just presentation, but use of data analysis, and, you know, through the darkness of the devils, you have, you know, come up with so many, you know, solutions of collaboration that gives light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you. I'm going to ask Dr. Arvind Kumar to add your reflections on this.
Yeah. For one channel, that's arguments by sorry. One or two data. Yes.
It's okay.
James, I'll give you my card.
So, good afternoon, friends and colleagues. I'm Dr. Arvind Kumar from India Water Foundation. So, the forces driving South Asia's rapid growth, new technology, globalization, and market-oriented reforms are also fueling some common challenges that region is facing, some important long-term problems that must be addressed now if South Asia is to build on what has already been achieved. Sharing similar structural constraints and challenges, including disappropriate dependency on agriculture, industrial stagnation, huge infrastructure gaps, inadequate access to public services, increasing inequalities, and marginalization of poor and vulnerable sections of the population. So especially South Asia and SSW countries collectively reveal characteristics that call for enhanced regional cooperation, moreover bound to together by geography, shared natural resources, this is more important, riverine systems, agroclimatic zones, and consequent common environmental vulnerabilities. The sub-regional countries also exhibits transboundary linkages that make regional cooperation on absolute necessity. On the most visible challenges has been environmental damages. The reliance on fossil fuel has degraded air quality and ecosystems, reduced the supply of clean water, and created significant health hazards. In cities are amongst the most populated and most vulnerable to extreme weather events. Recently, climate-related disasters in Pakistan, Nepal, and Bangladesh, India are the reminder that policymakers must act now to protect their citizens and mitigate and reverse the sign of climate change to secure sustainable growth for future. Regional cooperation and the SDGs are instinctively synergetic and mutually reinforcing. While a direct outcome of cooperation and integration between countries is creation of economic opportunities with spillover effects across various goals, the Global Sustainable Development Agenda can play a vital role in guiding cooperation. As many of challenges from air pollution, disasters to connectivity cut across borders, we have to push the importance of regional cooperation for implementation of 2030 agenda, and SCAPE and SANS can play a key role in coordinating and supporting regional actions. SANS can play a very crucial role in accelerating knowledge sharing, achieving the SDG goal being a multi-stakeholder platform. This network can become instrumental for cooperation in several areas, include trade, transport, energy, connectivity, and can constitute an overarching cooperation framework which can go away in strengthening a regional compact for SDGs. SANS can foster greater engagements on sustainable development between CSOs, think tanks, educational institutions, and other non-governmental stakeholder. Multi-country program led by ESCAPE offer opportunities for advancing regional cooperation in the post-COVID-19 period with the amplified urgency for combining effects for escalating the SDGs. The sub-regional countries must employ these various forms of models and instruments for cooperation available at their disposal. However, it can be successful only if all the network partners actively get involved in its initiatives and guide the way forward. Other regional cooperation platform can be brought together to further enhance the potential of resilience, regional cooperation, and SDG achievements. So everybody know that these are the important, actually, things. If you want to discuss on environmental issue, means everybody facing the same situation. So my idea is that so we have to be think about the more vibrant SANS, because now the new term is that everybody know the geopolitics, geoeconomics. This is called geo-environment, because most of the problems in that region, particular region, are from because of environmental hazards and air pollution, water pollution, or maybe other things. So can we have a kind of a structure in the entire area, entire region, so that we can actually get a solution for these calamities, and how can we created a kind of a center of excellence, or maybe a structure, so that everybody can think tank, maybe other sector can part of it, and it's think about the regional problem actually. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kumar. I think it complements well. You know, the first presentation looked at the issues and also a whole list of solutions of regional collaboration to tackle. And now you're, you know, posing the question of how to make a network more vibrant, more fit for purpose for those kinds of, you know, change, I guess, we want to see in the sub-region. So I think it's a good line of development of thinking here. I'd like to ask if is Professor Salim Raihan, the South Asian Network on Economic Modeling online? No, he's not online. Okay. So then I'm going to just maybe pause to take some, contributions, reflections from all of you. It could be, again, I think we have enough on the table here in terms of how do we make this work? How do we, catalyze change? And this is around a lot of regional cooperation solutions, right? And I think the first presentation actually really, there are many in there. If you find any that really makes sense or, that looks doable, it could be that kind of, intervention. If you have examples of, initiatives that are going on, networking initiatives that are, trying to solve some of these problems, that might be useful. Questions, perhaps, but the floor is open. Yes, great. Okay, so this microphone that everyone was tripping on, I hope we can. Yeah, can you pass the microphone to those who have raised their hands? We'll take them in turn. Thank you. And please introduce yourself and yes, make your intervention. Thank you.
Thank you. I am Javed Ali Khan from UN Habitat, Country Program Manager, Pakistan. So my suggestion rather, first of all, I want to appreciate the speakers who have really made very good contribution, and it is unusual time certainly, but the potential that the South-South cooperation can really help us is the real core, is the real opportunity. So we almost face the similar kind of problems, and the last speaker from India, you mentioned about the waste. It's a big issue, and in Pakistan we are working on very few successful models, which was we call it Integrated Resource Recovery Center. That was in 2014, with the support of UNESCAP, was piloted in Pakistan, and it has multiplied to more than 15 now. So it's a neighborhood level facility which really is helping a lot, and it is self-sustaining because it earns as much profit to manage its without any support. So, but it's a big problem. Now, I think that we need to have a regional network where SDG 11 related issues, as well as the waste management issues, solid waste, liquid waste, and all that. Plastic waste, phasing out plastic waste is a big issue now. So we are only managing compost, organic part of that, and recyclables goes straight to, it's not being so much processed. So it is auctioned rather by the facility, and but we need to, we are thinking of building it up, and it's a market-based solution. It can earn its own maintenance cost. So I will suggest that this network should consider propositions. In Pakistan, there is again another success story that we are cooperating with Korea, and they are investing to earn their global emission target, and carbon, through the carbon credit funds are generated, which is not a loan. It is kind of a win-win proposition. So why not we develop innovative models by which we are not burdening, but we are also benefiting with the green technologies, and the developed countries can also reduce their emission level and emission targets. So let's think about those innovative models which are successful. These are two success stories in Pakistan, which can be very easily replicated and spread out, upscaled in the region. And maybe there are many other models that can help in Pakistan to address our issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gentleman in the back. And then
Hello, everyone. My name is Ali Jabir Malik. I'm environmental journalist from Associated Press of Pakistan. I had a general question to the panelists. Pakistan in COP26 showcased two of its unique projects. One was Debt for Nature Swap, and the second was Ecosystem Restoration Fund. These were basically two tools or instruments to invest in nature and reduce carbon emissions. Then there's another option of green bonds. Can this forum of SAN be used for developing that kind of coordination or extending these two initiatives at the regional level for nature conservation and carbon emission reduction? Can that be worked out, or it can work? And this is for Sir SAPM, Mr. Ehsan Afzal Saab, that is the ministry work or coordinate at regional level to work out for such kind of innovative solutions that can be helpful in both regional cooperation and nature conservation as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I believe, ministries have to play the important role in such sessions which are being held today, which are being managed by SDPI, SANS and ISCAP are essential because, you're bringing in the experts and they're sharing experiences, the struggle to reach these SDG goals and, giving us a reality check on where we are today and what the challenge is. For example, in Pakistan, we need to be investing almost 15 or 17% of our GDP towards these goals, but the actual figure is 1%. And, I would agree with Dr. Posh, the challenges are common. The macroeconomic issues, the issue with inflation, the issue with devaluation, struggling export. So cooperation, be it ministries, be it the government, be it SANS, these networks, we need to connect more. We have to cooperate. The geopolitical situation, it has to improve. There are almost 216 million people living in poverty, extreme poverty in this region. And the fact is that, with regional cooperation, it will only support in reaching these goals. So yes, I agree, that is the requirement of the time.
thank you. I saw a lady in the front. Yeah, can you pass the microphone to the?
Hello.
Oops. Is there a microphone that can we give it to the lady? Just
I also have a question, if you allow me.
I wanted to give a chance to the lady and then we
Okay,
come
sure,
to you
sure.
if that's okay. Ladies first in this case. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Shafat Zanab and I'm from Fatma Janab Women University. And there are a lot of, I see the scholars, and thank you for your wonderful insights. But I would just like to make a little comment on this one, that yes, sustainable development is, should be the key focus, especially at the current times. And especially when we can see in Pakistan in particular, when the climate change, that is very much evident. I would say that the policies, when we talk about the policies at the domestic level, and especially in the region of South Asia, where we can see the progress is not that much very up to the mark. So the need of the hour is, we know that we lack in the economic sector as well. So the economic driven policies, but it should also entail the social and the environmental perspectives as well. For example, we need those projects that are truly sustainable. For example, as the sir was talking about in the presentation, that low carbon, energy projects we can have. So we can have those kind of, vehicles or transportation that we can actually acquire here. And that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Let's take the gentleman in the back. Thank you for waiting.
Hello, this is Zaur Rahman. Currently, I'm working as a research assistant with the National University of Sciences and Technology, NAST Islamabad. My question to the panel is that how do you see that the transboundary emission, particularly from our neighborhood, are actually contributing towards the derailing environment within Pakistan? And how can the regional cooperation actually play a big role? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Can we pause there and maybe take some answers or responses from the panel? Anybody who wants to take the microphone to respond to any of them?
Environmental pollution means pollution everywhere, whether it is in India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, everywhere. And in India, there are stern laws, polluter pay principle. If you pollute the groundwater, surface water, or through air pollution, so there is a huge penalty. And the thing is that when we talk holistically, means some people are asking about the environmental degradation, and because of some problems, there is a erratic rainfall in Pakistan and India as well. And because of this, a lot of problems for lives and livelihoods. So I think we should be thinking over about the entire ecosystem. Means ecosystem means your wetlands, your forest, then other ecosystems. Because view in India, there is two policies: net zero policy, then the net discharge. Net discharge means okay, whatever you're extracting from the groundwater, you have to replenish it 100%. So it is started. So I think this will also help. The another thing is that have you heard about the circular wise approach and circular economy? Means whatever you are actually getting from the environment, you have to send it back to the environment in the exact form you are getting. So means there is two things. This is net zero, then ground zero. So these some principles, some good things are maybe happening in India, maybe some initiative in Pakistan. So this platform means we have to understand, think it over, and share our knowledge, because a lot of changes in rules, regulations. Likewise, I drafted the wetland rule in India as part of the committee. So after this wetland rule, now there is a provision in each and every district. You should have a 75 wetlands. So maybe a size of 1 hectare or maybe small. So first thing is that there should be a water availability and water quality. Then another thing is that the water is actually for the all the sustainable needs. And another point is that everybody in the room understand about the sustainability of anything. But another term is that transversality. Means connection of one goal with another goal. And these SDGs with energy, water, food, and access, vertically, then ecosystem-based adaptation. Means you have to have a solution for entire ecosystem holistically. So this platform on SANS, if we talk about the environmental issue, means it's not a thing that who is polluting and by whom is polluted, but there should be a kind of a holistic solution. I know the rules and regulation in India. Maybe in Pakistan also there is some rule. If you polluted the groundwater, you should pay. In fact, in India there was no Water Act, but when I frame the wetland rules, rivers are also comes under wetlands. So I say to the government, why not we actually give such a huge amount so that they will not pollute our water bodies, the open drains, the rivers, and including the groundwater. So this is the, we have to plus here. So we have to net zero recharge for household only, industry, and other stakeholders too. Thank you.
Thank you. And that point on the holistic, necessity of a holistic approach. I think, responding to that earlier intervention by the young lady, of the social, economic, and environmental. I mean, the issues are so complex. No, I think the role of, good research, good analysis, good, and then really formulating the more holistic solutions that don't have trade-offs or, negative consequences in other fields. That is absolutely critical. Online, we have Dr. Hassan Daoud Butt. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Just take the question on air pollution from the gentleman at the back. And, connecting this to our conversation and the importance of having good analysis and research. I'll just put a plug in. Next week, the World Bank will be launching a regional air pollution report. And this has been several years in the making, but one of the things that we established in this report is this concept of airsheds. So just like what we talk about watersheds, the air we breathe is shared and it knows no boundaries. And so we document very clearly what the sources are of air pollution. They're not always what we think they are, right? There's a lot of attention on the more visible sources, such as crop burning, but there are a lot of secondary sources also, such as fertilizer. But then we also look for specific locations. Where is that pollution coming from? So I'll illustrate with one example that I think is pertinent for this audience, is that in Punjab state in India, 30% of the air pollution comes from Pakistan. On the Pakistani side, it's about 18%, and that's just depending on how the winds blow and where the sources are. But just that simple fact, I think, illustrates the necessity for cooperation. And so one of the big airsheds that is relevant for this audience is the Indo-Gangetic Plain. So it's Pakistan, it's Punjab, it's India, it's southern Nepal, and it reaches all the way into Bangladesh. So you need local action, you need national action, but you also need regional action, because otherwise you'll never fix this problem. So it is a problem that is imminently solvable, but does require intense cooperation nationally, but also regionally. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecile. That's an excellent example, actually. And that, as you say, crosses over into similar, issues between other borders as well. So absolutely an opportunity for collaboration. Dr. Hassan?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, let me just offer my apologies because there was connection issue, so I joined a little late, but I just have a few important aspects to highlight, especially in terms of the regional initiatives that are happening and how they can help us in terms of looking at sustainable development, as you said, in unusual time, because unusual time offer opportunities for unusual actions also. So if I explore, because first of all, the rich and industrious nation need and look at their responsibility and perhaps support us in terms of our capacity to thwart any challenge that comes our way through climate change, or also support us through green investment or sustainable investment in less developed areas of our region. And now I would come to China because I have been dealing with China as head of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor project, and I'm just coming back from, I think let's look at the initiative that China has just announced during their 20th CPC conference on global development initiatives. And now in that global initiative, development GDI is only about green development, about forestation or to stop deforestation, and supporting countries in the region and as partners from Belt and Road initiatives to help address these challenges. Secondly, say for example, we are talking about China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, and when we started development of roads and highways, which were the first few deliverables set in the targets given, we immediately realized that, how that impact, especially areas in the north and perhaps also in south in terms of Gawada's development. So, this learning curve also helped us to build our capacity. So for regional initiatives that are happening, I think the first and the foremost request from me as an individual as an academician and perhaps a speaker in this conference would be to do our hand holding. Give us the finances and investment. Don't give us the money, give us projects which are green, even ecologically friendly, including in the tourism sectors. And if you give us those projects, you will find us addressing poverty, you will find us addressing climate change related issues, and perhaps will make us a better and a richer country. So these are my 2 cents on part of the regional initiatives and how would they should support sustainable development in countries like Pakistan.
Thank you, Dr. Hassan. More food for thoughts here on how we can really, capitalize on research, academic institutions, and this partnership, not just within the South sub-region, but also beyond, some of the, you said, developed countries, but how that can work.
And perhaps the last point I would like to highlight is when it comes to sustainable development, we must insulate politics to the larger goodwill of our next generation. Let's forget politics. Instead of throwing our waste towards India and throwing all our smoke towards our side, let's share ideas and let the winds, good winds, be sent to our neighbors, and all of us need to address these headwinds through cooperation. There is no other way, and bitter politics have actually damaged our development in worse form there could be.
Thank you very much. I'm looking into the floor. Are there any other hands? Okay, I'd like to maybe probe a little bit more on how we get this network, vibrant. What's the unusual action that these kinds of networks of think tanks should be doing? I also want to acknowledge the interest of the students in universities around the sub-region, interested in all these issues, interested in getting involved. I wonder how we can connect with them as well in a meaningful way. But I want to maybe throw that back to you.
We almost interacted in other networks as well, you and other networks. Why not in that region on the SANS as well? Because we need outreach programs, interactions, and things should be in public, so that public should be also part of it. There is a need of research, innovations, and partnerships, not only with the government to government. This is a kind of a interaction or partnerships between the intelligentsia, then academia, then students, youth can be part of it. They can also contribute because everybody is facing the problem. Suppose if there is a drought or flood in a country, so everybody affected, maybe businessman, maybe politician, maybe scientist, or maybe other. So most of the problem in the entire region are affecting from one country to another country. So the responsibility of giving such a tangible solution should be the people of particular countries as well. People means maybe knowledgeable person or maybe others. So this should be as a turn into public movement kind of a thing. A program of life is initiated in India. So this is nothing but sustainable consumption protection. Means whatever you're getting from the nature, you have to return it. So if you return in such a way, so that environment is also intact, like water, maybe other things as well. So this, I think, if I saw this entire region, means from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, countries are actually, geographies are different, but their source of water, source of other environment things, most of the countries are same. The rivers are actually from Tibet originating from river. Maybe the source of environmental pollution is maybe different, maybe similar. So there is actually there is a need of a consensus. There is a time of need to talk between the people to people, people-centric. I think more people-centric approach is required. People-centric means there should be other sectors too. And people of all the countries are thinking after this COVID, actually after the COVID crisis and other conflict crisis, and due to climate change as well. So people are suffering. Not only people are suffering, their livelihoods are also advancing. So we have to be thinking about the life, people, and their livelihood. We have to think about after the COVID. We also think about the alternative livelihood as well. So this is the common responsibility of the region, so that we think it over and we have to have a tangible solution for the. We have 3-4 questions, so there should be a kind of an answer. We have to search and we will discuss like this forum. That's why the SANS should be there, and this is the only I think forum in the entire region who can actually bring solutions.
Thank you very much. I see another hand on screen. Is that a new hand? Yes, please. Okay, it's a real hand. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Naka. I am representing ISID, the Institute for Studies in Industrial Development, New Delhi, which is part of the SANS network. I have one general observation, and I'd like to speak a little bit about our institute itself and how we can cooperate. The general observation is, as we've all discussed in the last few days, there is a huge promise that regional cooperation can bring to this sub-region. We all know that there's a huge amount of benefit. In fact, this region was historically connected at one time, but because of history, it's been disconnected. And now it is totally sort of without much connection. And reports show that it is one of the least integrated regions in this, not only in Asia, but all over developing the world. So, but on the other hand, the promises are very large. As Dr. Pandey showed in his presentation, what we can gain through regional cooperation. We all know that, but for years we have been discussing this, but nothing much is happening. My feeling is that if we leave this to the public sector, then the government alone, we will not be making much of a headway. I think we should do what you are doing right now, which is have more people-to-people discussions, network-to-network discussions. And here the role of organizations such as yourselves, SCAP, as well as international organizations like the World Bank and the ADB have a very, very big role to play. I know they're doing some work already, but also the private sector. I think that we have to bring in the private sector here, where there is incentives, and I think there are big incentives. If in fact regional cooperation is valuable, as all studies show, there will be strong private incentives. We have to nurture those incentives and allow them to play a bigger role, and all of us have to play therefore a part, not only the governments. Okay, that's the general observation. As far as my own organization, which I'm representing, ISID, is concerned, we basically studies in industrial development. So we basically focus on goal 9, but thematically our reach is a little bit more, because as we had discussed earlier, goal 9 itself has a number of other areas like environment, like trade, and so on and so forth. So we are working on all of these, and we would definitely like to share our own studies and findings with similar institutions in other countries, and would welcome lessons from those countries. So going forward, we would hope that through your initiatives, we can network a little bit more strongly with regional institutions and play a small role towards this process of regional cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those two very useful points. Before I hand the floor to the chair, I just want to ask one question, going back to Dr. Posh and your, really interesting, analysis and the list of recommendations. If you were to take one out of that, the recommendations you put forward, regional cooperation, one that is doable within, let's say, the next 2-3 years or so, how do you see, this think tank network actually? What do we do actually? What's the the vibrant way of making that happen?
Well, that all depends on what is our expected outcome. If we want to have a policy change, then we can work together with, even I'm SANS member, then we can work together with the parliamentarian. And for example, we have one parliamentary committee that deals with SDGs. And I think even in Pakistan, they have that at parliament. So, here, if you want to have a policy change for this, then we can work with parliamentarian politician. And if we want to have, some effect in day-to-day life, then we have to work on it to develop some sort of business model that helps to address, maybe, for example, to address the issue of climate change. If production of EV is much more profitable than production of vehicles, consuming fossil fuel, then they will go for EV, right? Private sector, and that effect. So here our approach should be to develop a business model that contributes to ESG. And another, if we want to, have impact at the grassroots level or community levels, then we can work with, municipality organizations. Like, in Nepal, we have municipality organizations, and that is by the municipalities of all over the country. And through those, organizations and municipality, we can influence, common people, and even, that local level, policy, we can influence that. So it all depends, what's your objective, what is your expected outcome?
Great, thank you.
Can I give my 2 cents on this, please?
Yes, you can give $2. Yes, thank you.
No, we are short of dollars nowadays, so cent is better. So I just want to, because let's look at it in a historic perspective also. Scholars, think tanks, back in those days, old days, when they used to travel on the Silk Route, would move on horses back and, spread these words around, of religion, of philosophies, ideas. So let's take, to this time, and as a push of history, I think the first line of communication should start from think tanks and not from government officials. They should start from scholars, not from government officials. Actually, it is happening otherwise. The government officials go talk on G2G level, whereas what should happen is that think tanks, academia should go first, do their research, create that enabling environment and understanding of the culture, of understanding of how to do business, and then come back and give their input to the government to actually then move any discussion to follow. Unlike what is happening now, that the government looks at things. So and also we should empower think tanks to take on these initiatives ahead. Otherwise, it will be all talk and no implementation. Talk will not help only. It should be implementation at second stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's an interesting perspective. We visited Taxila while we were here. And if you think about the religious scholars that came from Taxila and brought the religion and script and all kinds of philosophy all the way up to Japan. That's an interesting comparison. I would like to now ask our chair, Mr. Rana Ihsan Afzal, the special advisor to the Prime Minister, coordinator for commerce and industries of Pakistan, for some words of wisdom.
Well, these sessions, this effort by these networks is essential. You've engaged the civil society, you've engaged students, and now the next step is that the conclusions of these experts should be pitched towards, government taking that into their policy and, making, improving the way forward to reaching these SDG goals. So that is, this is the way, the correct way. And, I would again want to, congratulate SDPI, SCAP and SANS for their efforts. And, this is the right way forward. On the South Asian regional cooperation, we have the geography, it's ideal for trade, yet South Asia isn't developing to its potential. Despite our shared history, culture, geography, South Asia is least economically integrated region in the world. So, just before the session started, I was talking to Dr. Arvind, and, he was telling me that he first went to Oman and then he came to Pakistan. So he had to take that route, and we were just discussing that if you could take a direct flight, you'd be here in 2 hours. So imagine the saving, you would make on the ticket and otherwise. So this is what regional cooperation is, and this is what we should aim for, at least when, intellectuals are talking, experts are talking. Put the politics aside, and, one day that is going to be the target. So, the potential again is huge. We have hydropower potential here in our north. We should be sharing energy. Pakistan is facing high energy costs. Kyrgyzstan and Central Asian countries can export their cheap electricity to Pakistan, India. That should be seen. I was reading somewhere that Nepal and Bhutan have full rivers in summers, but they, and the demand for electricity in Bangladesh and India is highest during summers. So that needs to be developed. There's a lot to gain from commerce and trade to increasing that. So by developing its hydropower potential, building cross-border transmission lines, and eventually emerging into a regional energy market, electricity can reach energy-starved businesses, and millions of people living in the dark can be brought out of it. So, with cross-border cooperation on water and river basin, flood forecasting, early warning system, lives and resources can be saved. Sharing goods and services, trade among the countries of South Asia could increase economic growth enormously. Yet, you see that South Asia's inter-region trade is the lowest in the world. So these are the challenges that we face. And, I was also reading that it costs more to trade within South Asia than with countries outside South Asia. So that is where the geopolitics comes in. Everyone. So South Asia already has the resources to solve its development challenges. The water, energy, trade potential are waiting to be developed. I imagine a South Asia where there are no borders for people, where citizens can move around freely, like in the EU. That is the future of South Asia, where a Nepalese can start a business in Pakistan and a Pakistani can do a joint venture in Bollywood movie in Mumbai. So this is the future. What is needed is cooperation, and all of us, these sessions, after educating the civil society, after empowering, knowledge is empowerment. After empowering the students, this voice should convert into a pressure group on governments, be it in India, be it in Pakistan, that we need to cooperate with each other. We need to common problems, common issues, almost similar cultures. So a lot to gain from cooperation, trade, and commerce within the region. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for those very inspiring, I think, words as well. So I really like to thank the whole panel, the SANS members, and Cecile, thanks for joining in as well. Also, all the participants out there. I hope you can also join hands as well. Certainly, from SCAP's perspective, we'd like to, further consult the SANS members to see how we can really invigorate this network for, solutions and change that are not necessarily bound by government per se. There is a, niche that I think we can play in regional cooperation. So thank you all very much. This, I think, concludes the SDG forum part as well, although that was officially closed. But I think it was a really good reflection to draw from all the, the rich information that we got from the forum. Thank you all very much. And those who are traveling, please travel safely. And we will go back to virtual connections. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you online too. Yes, we will connect you virtually again too. Thank you so much.
Sounds like you dropped it.